Okay, abusia Gifty Oware ene okoko PM court no asem bi esti wo ho abusia enye asem keto akra aha gossip politics so unsubscribe ya subscribe like na click on the notification bell so na be any update bia e beto so bia no wonsa ebetumi akabi na abusia former NSA Deputy Director Gifty Oware asem be na okoso court no judges no eba bonten abusia eno na ya project ato your screen no enchen de amamono High Court dismisses former NSA Deputy Director Gifty Oware's application to refer her case to the Supreme Court. Abusia High Court omo akwashe Gifty Oware ne application or copy yemu ewo court ayisi ano High Court a refer case ne to Supreme Court court kesi ni mu na Gifty Oware oko akwakoyi ensem bia no asisi a emu ayeden de ama Gifty Oware ya ebuso anya asem keto akranti we ni breaking news a wa ye de ato yi screen no enchen de amamono na nioma bi nso ekoso political highway ni so abuso ya esemoni ensem kacha mom yanko na yankonkoti sa ensem na ekoso political highway so yempese be kana mom yanko na yankonkoti unsubscribe ya subscribe like na hit on the notification bell so na be any update be dropping onsa ebetumi aka bedamase.
That you could join us again here on News Central. Let's bring you a bit more in terms of stories this afternoon. And the Akroma High Court has dismissed an application by former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority, Gifty Oware Mensah, referring her case to the Supreme Court. Presiding Judge Audrey Kokuvite held that the action or the application lacked merit. Lawyers of the embattled former NSA Deputy Director were seeking an interpretation of a provision in the Practice Direction on Disclosure and Case Management Proceedings, as well as the 1992 Constitution. The court had previously ordered her to file the list of her witnesses and their names during the case management conference. Gifty Oware Mensah is facing charges of causing financial loss to the tune of 38 million cedis in relation to the National Service ghost name scandal. She has pleaded not guilty to a count of stealing, 2 counts of willfully causing financial loss to the public or to the Republic, a count each of using public office for profit and money laundering, and has been granted bail. Lord Edwasare is my colleague from the court. Lord, what else can you tell us, and what does this mean for the case going forward?
Right, Marina, and so the lawyers of the former Deputy Director of the National Service Authority have filed a notice of appeal against the order compelling her, or the order by the High Court compelling her to, as it were, file the list of her witnesses and their addresses. Now, in addition to that, they have filed an application to stay proceedings pending that appeal or pending that notice of appeal. Now, that case or the ruling on the application to stay proceedings will be done the next time we are in court, which will be 18th of February. But let me take you back a little bit, because you recall that on January 20, the High Court ordered her to file her witnesses, but then her lawyers argue that per the 1992 Constitution, Article 19 to be precise, an accused person is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and that basically the onus lies on the prosecution to prove her guilt. But the Practice Direction on Disclosures also indicates that the accused person needs to file their the list of their witnesses and then their addresses. Now, they are arguing that these two are in contravention with each other, and so they sought to refer the case to the Supreme Court for interpretation, and this was sort of dismissed by the High Court judge, indicating that they hadn't proven enough to warrant the referral to the Supreme Court, and so she dismissed that application entirely. So, this is where we are. It means that the next time we're in court, the court will rule on that application to stay proceedings, and we'll see how things will pan out from there.
Lord, just a curious question as to this argument which was put forth by her lawyers. I know we are witnessing a number of prosecutions across board. Is it the norm that when we are in case management, direction is given for both defendants and the prosecutors to all file witness statements, or it's the first ever we'll see in reason for which her lawyers are making this argument as to innocent until proven guilty?
I didn't get the last part.
The bit about her lawyers arguing innocent until proven guilty, I'm asking if the defense also filing their witness statement is not a norm that exists already in the court, or is the first time we're seeing it play out in her case?
No, this is the norm. Whenever criminal prosecution is ongoing, during the case management conference, the defense lawyers or the defendants are always asked to file their disclosures, the full disclosure, and that includes filing the number of witnesses that you call on, their addresses. And so even the Director of Public Prosecution was buttressing on this point that this is a normal practice direction that has been in existence since. And so it cannot be the case that you are now citing the 1992 Constitution as being inconsistent with the practice direction on disclosures. And so I think it's a case of them trying to test the law because of what the Constitution says as against what the practice direction says as far as full disclosure is concerned. Because as far as any one is concerned, or anybody and the legal fraternity is concerned, whenever there's criminal proceedings and there's case management conference, prosecution are asked to file the disclosures, defendants are also asked to file their disclosures, and that includes the number of witnesses that you hope to rely on to help make your case.
Right then, Lord, thank you very much. This afternoon, the dismissal of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, the various petitions for the removal of heads of various independent institutions, and the discontinuation of corruption cases involving members of the ruling government are some of the contributory factors to Ghana's uninspiring corruption index performance. That's according to the latest 43% score on corruption perception out of 100 ascertained by the country. The score indicates that Ghana continues to struggle with persistent corruption, weak compliance with unenforcement of the legal and policy framework, and weak state institutions dedicated to combating corruption. The country has remained at a CPI score of 43 since 2020, slipping to 42 in 2024. And we're going to take a quick look at what has been presented in terms of our score for some time now. And they do make a number of recommendations as well, which they believe ought to be taken into consideration by the government in a bid to improve the score of the country in matters relating to corruption and the general perception of individuals and the citizens as to the fight against graft. And let's start off, first off, perhaps, with what our score has been and the trajectory, right? And so we've been in the regions of the 40s for a very long time, haven't quite crossed the threshold to 50 and above just as yet. And we go back as far back as, 12 years ago or 11 years ago to 2014, where we scored as high as 48%. And this was during President John Mahama's first term as well. And then 47. Then we've come all the way down to 40 during 2017. And our lowest again being 42 in 2024. But we've gone back to the average since 2020 of 43%. And that's what Transparency International says. It's not a good look. It suggests there's a weakening of institutions and a real challenge in being able to deal with graft and deal with it effectively and efficiently. But here's what they recommend, amongst many other things, as to what can be done between now and when the next CPI scoring comes around. They are asking we strengthen the justice systems and protect their independence, and welcome the Chief Justice's decision to fast-track the creation of anti-corruption courts. And so that's one thing. And we'll get a sense as to why they make the point of strengthening justice systems pretty shortly when we connect with one of the persons of Transparency International Ghana. They are also asking that the hastening of the passage of the Community Tribunal Bill, which has been penciled as one of the bills to receive the attention of Parliament during the current sitting, is of utmost importance. Expeditiously adopt the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Plan. Also undertake cultural reorientation to pay attention to issues of ethics, such as the campaign by the IGP to promote personnel who demonstrate integrity in the line of duty and promote a friendly business environment by calling on state regulatory agencies such as the Office of the Registrar of Companies, the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, the Ghana Revenue Authority, amongst others, the Standards Authority and the Food and Drugs Authority to promote ethical business standards, right? Let's speak to Michael Buedi. He's fundraising manager of Transparency International Ghana. We're going over to him. He's joining us via Zoom this afternoon as well for a quick chat in relation to what it is that we're seeing in this latest score and why perhaps they raised the concern that, look, we've remained at that 43 score for quite a while, and it's time that we took certain actions to improve on our score. Mr. Buedi, I appreciate you joining us and speaking to us this afternoon. Now, reading the report, we see mentions of the removal of the Chief Justice and also petitions for other heads of other independent institutions being removed. There are those who ask the question, the direct or causal link between these sets of actions and the perception on corruption. Draw that link for us and why all of these matters in the score we're seeing.
Very well. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your viewers as well as your listeners. So, every year, various indices, good governance indices or anti-corruption indices are used or weighted in the calculation of the CPI. So you would find that there are times where, you would find that this year, Transparency International use civic space, independence of the judiciary, the integrity of public office as some of the key drivers of corruption. So where there are questionable integrity or respondents perceive that there are issues with the integrity of public office, your weight drops. It is where civic space is constricted, your weight also drops. Now, a lot of things happened in the course of the year. There were arrests of citizens that express varying opinion or questioning authority. There is also a lot of report of denial of persons that were seeking information or using the right to information. The Right to Information Commission had to issue a number of fines to public sector. There were allegations of public sector corruption. The Auditor General's report were also out there for the jury to decide. So all these come together to shape the perspective or perception of respondents of the level of corruption in Ghana. One would all.
Oh dear, it does appear we may have lost Mr. Buedi just there on Zoom in relation to our conversation, and we will try, hopefully, and reconnect with him, but that's him seeking to explain and also draw the causal link as to why we're seeing this score vis-a-vis others, or particularly what we saw in 2024 and the concern that we're not improving. That was the next line of question I was seeking to ask. Why that concern appears to continue to come every now and then, that we've remained at the 43 score since 2020, only dipping in 2024 and what have you. Mr. Buedi appears to be back with us. Mr. Buedi, I see that you're back with us on Zoom again. Just talk to us about this persistent 43% we've been scoring as well, and the challenges which you've been able to identify in terms of a theme which has been running through since 2020 and what we can do to begin to improve upon it?
Very well. So what is accounting for our stagnation is that over the years we have perceived that when we pass laws and we establish institutions, that is enough to fight corruption or to indicate our commitment to fight corruption. What we lose sight of is the fact that if you don't resource the institutions, they will be dysfunctional. If the laws are not implemented, they will not be able to do anything. That is missing on us. So year in, year out, regime after regime, the laws are reviewed, the new ones are passed, institutions are set up, and then that is it. Not the latest institution on the block is the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But I'm sure you all know that the Office of the Special Prosecutor had been consistent in complaining about adequacy of resource. Not just complaining, but throughout last year, the office spent a good time defending himself at the courts, as well as justifying why the office must be maintained. Citizens and politicians alike attacked the office in diverse ways. When this persists, then it sends a signal out there that, look, this country, they are not committed to the fight against corruption. So barring the passage of laws and institutions, setting up of institutions, it's only at best serves as cosmetic, but not actual commitment to the fight against corruption.
Right. Is there not a bit more in terms of nuance in, for instance, the example you cite of the Office of the Special Prosecutor and what appears to be the attacks? There are those who make the argument that, yes, the concern about resources may be legitimate, but the office has been resourced to a certain level. Results are yet to be seen, and citizens are asking the question as to where the results are, particularly on the matter of the former finance minister and what have you. And we make reference as well to the petitions that went in for, say, the removal of the head of that institution, for instance. Isn't there a bit more nuance in the term that it's as a result of citizens' displeasure with the fight against corruption resulting in attacks like that?
Well, you see, I think that all of us, including the media, had not helped in this matter very well. You see, we only limit the function or mandate of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to the prosecutorial investigation and prosecutorial function. Right. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has a higher and other multiple responsibilities. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has asset recovery responsibility. They have public education responsibility. They also have preventive responsibility.
Absolutely.
But because they've not done too much of the prosecutorial responsibility, the impression is given as if they are not doing anything. And I think that we must contribute to changing that impression, because it's a lot more better to prevent the occurrence of the crime or of corruption than just going ahead to prosecute, because it's a lot difficult. You see, prosecuting corruption is not that easy. I always ask this question. The Attorney General, whose prosecutorial function he had given a part to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, one would ask, from the beginning of the Fourth Republic till now, how many corrupt cases had they successfully prosecuted? Not that much. The people who engage in corruption are well-resourced to hire all the competence that they need to be able to fight the law enforcement agencies. It is not as easy as prosecuting a petty criminal or a petty thief. You know, so it is very competent. And just as you mentioned, Mr. Ofurata's case, you agree with me that if Mr. Ofurata had been any other person on the street, ISIS would have deported him to Ghana by now.
Right.
But this man has been able to afford competent legal representation, to defend himself. So it doesn't come that easy. But
Right.
there are low-hanging fruits, such as the prevention and public education, which I trust that the special prosecutor is doing quite well on.
Right, Mr. Boydie, I appreciate you.
Okay, abusia we ne ensema ekoso e wo political highway so Gifty Oware ene chese sisi ano NSS ghost name scandal involved in it. In any case no ya refer the na kwa pmo e Supreme Court ya de e ho nsem e de bremo unsubscribe ya subscribe like na share na hit on the notification bell so na be any update be ever drop no wonsa ebetumi aka medamase.